Abide by. Meaning, accept or follow a decision or rule. Example, they have to abide by the house rules, including a strict curfew. Account for. Meaning, give a reason or an explanation. Example, I hope you can account for all the money you spent. Ache for. Meaning, want something or someone a lot. Example, my partner's been away for a fortnight, I am aching for her. Add on. Meaning, include in a calculation. Example, many loan application forms automatically add on insurance. Add up. Meaning, to add two or more numbers in order to find the total amount. Example, the various building programs add up to several thousand new homes. Add up to. Meaning, if two or more numbers add up to another number, this is the total you get if you add them together. Example, the numbers add up to exactly 100. Advise against. Meaning, recommend not doing something. Example, the doctor advised him against carrying heavy loads. Agree with. Meaning, have the same opinion as some else. Example, I agree with you to a certain degree. Aim at. Meaning, point something in the direction of a target. Example, our products aim at improving your English skills. Allow for. Meaning, include something in a plan or calculation. Example, the existing rules allow for some flexibility. Allow of. Meaning, make possible, permit. Example, the facts allow of only one explanation. Amount to. Meaning, reach, be equivalent to. Example, the total sales of the company didn't amount to more than a few $1,000,000. Amp up. Meaning, increase the power, excite, arouse. Example, the people are amped up about the referendum. Angle for. Meaning, try to get something indirectly, by hinting or suggesting. Example, there are no big fish left to angle for. Argue down. Meaning, beat someone in a debate, discussion, or argument. Example, she argued him down 10%. 1. Break down. This means to stop working or functioning properly. For example, my car broke down on the way to work. 2. Bring up. It refers to raising or mentioning a topic in conversation. For instance, she brought up the issue of inequality during the meeting. 3. Back off. This phrase means to retreat or withdraw from a situation. You could say, I told him to back off and give me some space. 4. Bump into. It means to unexpectedly meet or encounter someone or something. You could say, I bumped into an old friend at the grocery store. 5. Brush up. This means to revise or refresh your knowledge or skills on a particular topic. For example, I need to brush up on my Spanish before my trip to Mexico. So, there you have it. 1. Come across. This phrasal verb means to find or discover something unexpectedly. For example, I came across an old photo album while cleaning my attic. 2. Call off. To cancel or terminate something. For instance, they had to call off the meeting due to bad weather conditions. 3. Check out. This phrasal verb has multiple meanings. It can refer to examining or looking at something, like, I want to check out the new restaurant in town. It can also mean to leave a hotel or place of accommodation, as in, we need to check out of the hotel by noon. 4. Carry on. This phrasal verb can mean to continue doing something or to behave in a particular way. For example, despite the challenges, we must carry on with our plans. It can also refer to behaving in an excessive or uncontrolled manner, like, he carried on drinking all night and regretted it the next day. 5. Come up with. To produce or create something, especially when it requires creativity or ingenuity. For instance, she always comes up with innovative solutions to difficult problems. 6. Cut down. This phrasal verb means to reduce in size, quantity, or duration. For example, I need to cut down on junk food to improve my health. It can also refer to chopping down trees, as in, they had to cut down the old tree because it was a safety hazard. 7. Carry out. To fulfill or complete a task, a plan, or an action. For instance, the researchers carried out a series of experiments to test their hypothesis. 8. Come on. This phrasal verb can be used as an expression to encourage or persuade someone to do something. For example, come on, you can do it. Don't give up. It can also be used to express disbelief or annoyance, like, oh, come on. You must be joking. 9. Come into. To inherit or receive something, usually related to money or property. For example, she came into a large sum of money after her grandparents passed away. 10. Count on. To rely or depend on someone or something. For instance, you can always count on your best friend to support you during difficult times. 1. Do away with. It means to eliminate or get rid of something. For example, it's time to do away with these old clothes and make space for new ones. 2. Dress up. This means to wear fancy or formal clothes. You can say, I always love dressing up for special occasions. 3. Drop off. This phrasal verb means to take someone or something to a particular place, usually by driving. For instance, can you drop me off at the station on your way to work? 4. Dial back. It means to reduce something, often intensity or volume. I think you need to dial back the music a bit, it's too loud. 5. Deal with. This is a very common phrasal verb and it means to handle or tackle a situation or problem. You can use it in a sentence like, I have a lot on my plate right now, but I'll deal with it. 6. Drive away. It means to cause someone to leave by driving them away. For example, the noisy construction work drove away all the customers from the cafe. 7. Drop by. This phrasal verb means to visit someone informally and without a specific plan. You can use it like, feel free to drop by my place anytime. 8. Dry up. It means to lose all moisture or become completely dry. You could say, the river has been drying up due to the severe drought. 9. Drum up. This means to generate or gather support or interest in something. For instance, the marketing team is trying to drum up excitement for the new product launch. 10. Dive in. It means to start doing something enthusiastically, without hesitation. You can say, stop overthinking it. Just dive in and give it a try. 11. Draw up. This phrasal verb means to create or prepare a document, plan, or contract. For example, the lawyer will draw up a contract for the business partnership. 12. Die down. It means to gradually become less intense or loud. You could say, the storm will die down soon. The winds are already getting weaker. 13. Double up. This means to share a room, bed, or seat with someone due to limited space or availability. For instance, since we're short on beds, you'll have to double up with your sister. 14. Drive off. It means to force someone or something to leave by driving away. You can use it in a sentence like, the guard dogs drove off the trespassers. 15. Dress down. This phrasal verb means to wear casual or informal clothes. For example, at this job, you can dress down on Fridays and wear jeans. And there you have it, guys.
1. Ease off. When things are intense or overwhelming, it's important to take a break. You can say, ease off, to indicate the need to slow down or reduce the intensity. 2. Embark on. If you're looking to start a new journey or project, you can use embark on. For example, I'm planning to embark on a new fitness regimen. 3. End up. Sometimes, life takes us in unexpected directions. When you find yourself somewhere you didn't initially plan, you can say, I ended up here, to express that. 4. Engage in. If you want to participate in an activity or discussion, you can use engage in. For instance, I love engaging in intellectual debates. 5. Exude confidence. When someone radiates self-assurance and poise, we say they exude confidence. For example, she exudes confidence when she speaks in public. 6. Enter into. Enter into is used when you begin a formal agreement or contract. You can say, they entered into a partnership to build their business. 7. Explode with. If you're absolutely bursting with excitement or energy, you can say, I'm exploding with enthusiasm about my upcoming trip. 8. Express yourself. When you want to communicate your thoughts, feelings, or opinions openly, you can use express yourself. For instance, art allows me to express myself in unique and creative ways. 9. Extend an invitation. When you want to invite someone to an event or gathering, use extend an invitation. You can say, I'd like to extend an invitation to my birthday party next week. 10. Eye up. This informal phrase means to look at someone with interest or attraction. You can say, he was eyeing her up from across the room. 11. Explore options. When you're considering different possibilities or choices, you can say, I'm exploring my options, to convey that. For example, I'm exploring my options for further education. 12. Expose to. If you want to subject something or someone to a particular situation or experience, you can use expose to. You might say, I want to expose my children to different cultures by taking them on a trip around the world. 13. Exercise caution. When you want to advise someone to be careful or vigilant, you can say, exercise caution. For instance, it's important to exercise caution when walking alone at night. 14. Evolve into. When something gradually develops or transforms into something else, you can use evolve into. For example, the small startup evolved into a multinational corporation. 15. Establish rapport. To build a connection or understanding with someone, you can say, establish rapport. You might say, it's essential to establish rapport with your colleagues to promote teamwork. 1. Fend off. When faced with challenges, sometimes we need to fend off. This means to defend against or repel something, like fending off negative thoughts. 2. Forge ahead. Progressing despite obstacles is to forge ahead. For instance, you can say, I'll forge ahead with my studies even when it gets tough. 3. Flare up. When emotions or situations intensify suddenly, they flare up. An example, the argument flared up unexpectedly. 4. Fall for. Falling for something means being deceived or tricked, as in, I can't believe I fell for that scam. 5. Fade away. When something gradually disappears or becomes less noticeable, it fades away. Like how memories sometimes fade away over time. 6. Frown upon. To disapprove of something is to frown upon it. For instance, society tends to frown upon dishonesty. 7. Fess up. When you confess or admit to something, you fess up. You can say, I finally fessed up about breaking the vase. 8. Fit in. To belong or be accepted in a group is to fit in. For example, I'm trying to fit in with my new colleagues. 9. Fill out. When you complete a form with required information, you fill out the form. Like, please fill out this application. 10. Face up to. To confront or deal with a challenge head-on is to face up to it. You might say, I need to face up to my fears. 11. Fix up. If you're renovating or improving something, you're fixing it up. For instance, we're fixing up the old house. 12. Flaunt your style. To proudly display your choices is to flaunt your style. Like, she flaunts her unique fashion sense. 13. Fish for compliments. Seeking compliments indirectly is fishing for compliments. You might say, stop fishing for compliments. You look great. 14. Find fault. To criticize or point out flaws is to find fault. For instance, he always finds fault with my work. 15. Free up. When you make something available or release it, you free it up. An example is, I need to free up my schedule. Gear up. When you prepare yourself for something, you gear up. For instance, I need to gear up for the upcoming exams. Give in. To surrender or yield is to give in. You might say, after the debate, I finally gave in. Get across. To effectively communicate an idea is to get it across. Like, I struggled to get my point across during the presentation. Get ahead. To progress or succeed is to get ahead. For example, hard work helps you get ahead in your career. Give up. To stop trying is to give up. An example, I won't give up until I reach my goal. Go through. To undergo a process is to go through it. Like, I had to go through a rigorous training program. Get along. To have a good relationship is to get along. You can say, I get along well with my neighbors. Grow up. To mature or develop is to grow up. For instance, I wanted to be a firefighter when I grew up. Give off. To emit or release is to give off. For example, the flowers give off a pleasant fragrance. Go on. To continue or proceed is to go on. An example, the event will go on despite the rain. Get by. To manage with what you have is to get by. Like, we can get by with the supplies we have. Give away. To donate or provide for free is to give away. For instance, we decided to give away our old clothes. Go after. To pursue or chase is to go after. You might say, she's going after her dream job. Get over. To recover from something is to get over it. Like, I need time to get over the flu. Go over. To review or examine is to go over. An example, let's go over the important points again.
Hang out. When you spend time with friends and do fun activities, you hang out. For example, I love to hang out with my friends at the park. Hold on. Sometimes, you need to wait or keep something tightly. This is called holding on. Like, hold on to your hat. It's windy outside. Hand in. To submit or give something to a person in charge is to hand in. For instance, don't forget to hand in your homework by Friday. Hit it off. When you meet someone new and immediately become friends, you hit it off. For example, I met my neighbor yesterday, and we really hit it off. Hush up. To make something quiet or stop talking is to hush up. Like, could you hush up for a moment? I'm trying to concentrate. Hold up. If something remains strong or doesn't break, it holds up. For example, the old bridge surprisingly held up during the storm. Hand out. Distributing something to a group of people is handing out. For instance, the teacher will hand out the worksheets for today's lesson. Hang up. To end a phone call by putting the phone down is to hang up. Like, I had to hang up because my battery was dying. Head out. Leaving or starting a journey is heading out. For example, we're going to head out on our road trip early tomorrow morning. Hit on. To show romantic interest in someone is to hit on them. You might say, he was hitting on her at the party last night. Hold back. When you restrain yourself from doing or saying something, you hold back. Like, she had to hold back tears when she heard the sad news. Heat up. Things become more intense or exciting when they heat up. For example, the competition is heating up as the final round approaches. Hand down. Passing something to the next generation or from an older generation is handing down. For instance, my grandmother handed down her antique jewelry to me. Hang around. Spending time in a particular place without a specific purpose is hanging around. Like, teenagers often like to hang around at the mall. Hit the sack. Finally, when you go to bed or get some sleep, you hit the sack. For example, I'm exhausted. I'm going to hit the sack early tonight. Iron out. When you resolve or fix a problem, you iron it out. For example, we need to iron out the issues in our project before the deadline. Invite over. To ask someone to come to your home or a specific place is to invite them over. Like, I'll invite my friends over for dinner this weekend. Itch for. When you really want or crave something, you itch for it. For instance, I itch for a vacation. I need a break. Inquire about. To ask for information or details on something is to inquire about it. You might say, I called to inquire about the job opening. Invest in. When you put money or time into something to make it better, you invest in it. For example, I plan to invest in stocks for my financial future. Interact with. To engage or communicate with someone is to interact with them. Like, it's important to interact with your audience on social media. Inhale deeply. To take a deep breath is to inhale deeply. For instance, when you feel stressed, inhale deeply to relax. Inform on. If you provide information about someone's wrongdoing to authorities, you inform on them. You might say, he decided to inform on his colleagues' illegal activities. Inherit from. To receive money, property, or characteristics from a family member is to inherit from them. For example, she inherited her artistic talent from her grandmother. Invite in. To welcome someone into a place is to invite them in. Like, please, come inside. I'll invite you in. Insist on. When you demand or emphasize something strongly, you insist on it. For instance, I insist on punctuality for our meetings. Impress with. To make a positive impact or influence someone is to impress with. For example, her skills and knowledge really impressed us during the interview. Introduce to. To make someone familiar with someone or something new is to introduce them to it. You might say, let me introduce you to my colleague. Interfere with. When something disrupts or hinders another thing, it interferes with it. Like, bad weather can interfere with our travel plans. Inquire within. To ask for information or seek answers from a particular source, you inquire within. For instance, for job opportunities, inquire within the company. Jot down. To quickly write something, usually a note or reminder. For example, I'll jot down your phone number. Join in. To participate or become part of an activity or group. Like, feel free to join in our game. Jump at. To eagerly accept an opportunity or offer. For instance, she jumped at the chance to travel. Jack up. To increase the price or cost significantly. For example, they jacked up the rent this year. Juggle between. To manage multiple tasks or responsibilities. You might say, I often have to juggle between work and family. Knock out. To defeat or render someone unconscious. Like, he knocked out his opponent in the boxing match. Key in. To enter data or information using a keyboard or keypad. For instance, please key in your password. Keep up. To maintain the same level or pace. For example, try to keep up with the conversation. Knuckle down. To start working hard and seriously on something. Like, I need to knuckle down and finish this report. Kick back. To relax and unwind, often used informally. For instance, let's kick back and watch a movie. Jog along. To continue at a steady pace, often used informally. You might say, we'll just jog along with our plans. Jet off. To leave quickly on a jet or airplane. For example, they jetted off to a tropical paradise for their vacation. Jazz up. To make something more exciting or attractive. Like, let's jazz up the party with some decorations. Jerk around. To treat someone unfairly or unkindly. For instance, stop jerking him around. It's not fair. Jam out. To play music loudly and enthusiastically, often used informally. You might say, we jammed out to our favorite songs. And there you have it. Keep up with. To stay at the same pace or level as something or someone. For example, it's hard to keep up with the latest technology. Kick off. To start or begin something, often used informally. Like, the concert will kick off at 7 p.m. Knock off. To finish work or stop doing something, especially at the end of the day. For instance, let's knock off work and go grab dinner. Kiss up to. To flatter or be overly nice to someone, usually to gain their favor. You might say, he's always kissing up to the boss. Knuckle under. To submit to someone's authority or pressure. Like, she had to knuckle under to meet the deadline. Key up. To make someone anxious or excited. For example, the upcoming exam really has me keyed up. Knock back. To consume a drink, usually alcohol, quickly. For instance, let's knock back a few beers. Keep on. To continue doing something without stopping. Like, you should keep on practicing to improve. Knock over. To accidentally tip something, often causing it to fall. For example, he knocked over the vase. Kneel down. To get on your knees, usually as a sign of respect or devotion. You might say, they knelt down to pray. Kick up. To cause trouble or a disturbance. For instance, his behavior really kicked up a fuss. Kindle up, to ignite or light a fire. Like, it took a while to kindle up the campfire. Kiss goodbye, to say farewell, often used informally. For example, let's kiss goodbye to summer with a beach trip. Knock around, to spend time with someone casually. You might say, we used to knock around the neighborhood together. Keep in, to not reveal or share something, often a secret. Like, can you keep this information in for now? Explore these together. Lay off, to terminate someone's employment, often due to budget cuts or downsizing. For example, the company had to lay off several employees. Light up, to illuminate or make something bright with light. Like, the fireworks lit up the night sky. Log in, to enter your username and password to access a computer system or website. For instance, please log into your account. Live up to fulfill or meet expectations or standards. You might say, she always lives up to her promises. Lash out, to react angrily or aggressively, often verbally, toward someone. Like, he lashed out at his coworker during the meeting. Look after, to take care of or watch over someone or something. For example, I need to look after my younger brother this evening. Let down, to disappoint someone by failing to meet their expectations. For instance, I'm sorry I let you down. I won't do it again. Liven up, to make something more exciting or lively. Like, let's liven up the party with some music. Lay out, to explain or present something clearly, often a plan or idea. You might say, she laid out her proposal in great detail. Log out, to exit or sign out of a computer system or website. For example, don't forget to log out when you're done. Lose out, to miss an opportunity or fail to gain something. Like, I don't want to lose out on this chance. Look up to admire or respect someone greatly. For instance, many young athletes look up to that legendary player. Lean on, to rely on someone for support or assistance. You might say, in tough times, we lean on our friends. Lay up, to store or save something for later use, often related to supplies or money. Like, I'll lay up some food for the winter. Let in, to allow someone or something to enter. For example, please let me in. I forgot my keys. So let's get started. 1. Make up, to create a fictional story or excuse. For example, he likes to make up stories about his adventures. 2. Measure up, to compare or assess something's quality or standards. Like, this new restaurant measures up to our expectations. 3. Mix up, to confuse two or more things or people. You might say, I always mix up the twins. They look identical. 4. Mark down, to reduce the price of an item. For instance, they marked down the prices for the clearance sale. 5. Move in, to begin living in a new house or apartment. For example, they're excited to move in next month. 6. Mess up, to make a mistake or create a mess. Like, I accidentally spilled coffee and messed up my notes. 7. Make out, to see or understand something with difficulty. You might say, I can't quite make out what that sign says. 8. Makeover, to renovate or improve the appearance of something. For instance, they decided to make over their kitchen. 9. Mellow out, to relax or become less stressed. Like, after a long day, I like to mellow out with some music. 10. Milk it, to take advantage of a situation or exploit it. For example, he always milks it when he's sick to avoid chores. 11. Mess around, to engage in aimless or unproductive activity. You might say, instead of working, they're just messing around. 12. Mark up, to increase the price of something, often in retail. For instance, the store marked up the imported goods. 13. Mash up, to mix different things together. Like, let's mash up these ingredients to make a tasty dish. 14. Mop up, to clean or clear a mess or liquid. For example, I need to mop up the spilled water. 15. Make for, to head towards a destination. You might say, we should make for the exit before it gets crowded. 1. Narrow down, to reduce the number of options or possibilities. For example, we need to narrow down our choices for the vacation destination. 2. Nod off, to fall asleep, especially when you didn't intend to. Like, I kept nodding off during the boring lecture. 3. Nail down, to finalize or specify details or plans. You might say, we need to nail down the date for the meeting. 4. Note down, to make a written record of something. For instance, I always note down important information during lectures. 5. Nudge along, to encourage or gently persuade someone to take action. Like, she had to nudge him along to finish the project. 6. Nip in, to enter a place briefly or quickly. For example, I'll nip in the store to grab some milk. 7. Nose around, to snoop or investigate in a curious manner. You might say, she's always nosing around in other people's business. 8. Nullify out, to cancel or make something ineffective. For instance, the new evidence nullified out the previous claims. 9. Net out, to calculate the net result after deducting losses or expenses. Like, we'll need to net out the expenses to determine our profit. 10. Noodle around, to think or ponder casually. For example, I like to noodle around with ideas for my next project. 11. Nuzzle up, to snuggle or cuddle closely. You might say, the puppy nuzzled up to its owner for warmth. 12. Nudge forward, to move something gently forward. For instance, nudge the car forward a bit so we can park. 13. Nod to acknowledge or show approval of something or someone. Like, she nodded to her friend across the room. 14. Niche in, to find a specialized or unique position. You might say, this product can niche in the luxury market. 15. Nudge out, to gradually force someone out of a position or role. For example, they nudged him out of the company due to poor performance. So let's get started. Opt for, to choose or select a particular option. For example, I think I'll opt for the vegetarian dish. Own up to confess or admit to something, especially a mistake. Like, he finally owned up to breaking the vase. Open up, to start to talk more freely or honestly. You might say, she gradually opened up about her feelings. Overlook something, to fail to notice or consider something. For instance, don't overlook the details, they're important. Occupy oneself with, to keep busy or engaged with an activity. Like, he likes to occupy himself with woodworking. Opt out of, to choose not to participate in something. For example, I decided to opt out of the team building exercise. Offer up, to present or provide something, often willingly. You might say, she offered up her assistance without hesitation. Onlookers, people who are watching an event or situation. For instance, the onlookers watched the street performance with amazement. Own something up, to confess or admit to owning or possessing something. Like, he owned up to the mistake and apologized. Open up to become more receptive or accepting of something. For example, she's starting to open up to new ideas. Opt in, to choose to participate or be included. You might say, make sure to opt in for email notifications. Order in, to request food or items to be delivered to your location. For instance, let's order in tonight and have a movie night. Observe closely, to watch or examine something with great attention to detail. Like, the scientists observed the behavior of the animals closely. Own up, to confess or acknowledge one's responsibility for something. For example, it's time to own up to your mistakes. Offend against, to violate or break a rule or law. You might say, his actions offend against company policies. Pick out, to choose or select something from a group. For example, can you help me pick out a gift for her birthday? Put off, to delay or postpone something. Like, let's put off the meeting until next week. Pass by, to go past a place or person without stopping. You might say, I saw her pass by on her way to work. Pull over, to drive to the side of the road and stop. For instance, the police asked me to pull over for a routine check. Play around with, to experiment or tinker with something. For example, I like to play around with different cooking techniques. Pay back, to return money that you borrowed. Like, I'll pay you back as soon as I can. Point out, to bring attention to something or someone. You might say, she pointed out the errors in my report. Put up with, to tolerate or endure a difficult or unpleasant situation. For instance, I can't put up with his constant complaining. Pick up, to lift something from a surface. Like, can you help me pick up these books? Pass on, to give or transmit something to someone else. For example, he decided to pass on the job offer. Pull through, to recover from an illness or difficult situation. You might say, I'm confident she'll pull through. Plug in, to connect a device to an electrical outlet. For instance, don't forget to plug in your phone to charge it. Put forward, to propose an idea or suggestion. Like, he put forward a compelling argument during the meeting. Plan ahead, to make arrangements or preparations for the future. You might say, it's essential to plan ahead for a successful event. Pay off, to yield positive results or to succeed. For example, all their hard work finally paid off. Quit out, to exit or stop an application or program on a computer. For example, don't forget to save your work before you quit out of the software. Queue up, to wait in line or form a line. Like, we need to queue up early to get tickets for the concert. Quell down, to calm or suppress a feeling, emotion, or disturbance. You might say, the teacher managed to quell down the noisy classroom. Quarrel over, to argue or have a dispute about something. For instance, they quarreled over who should pay the bill. Quick look, to glance briefly or take a brief look at something. Like, I took a quick look at the report before the meeting. Question on, to have doubts or uncertainties about something. You might say, I question the accuracy of that statement. Quiet down, to become or make someone or something less noisy. For example, could you please quiet down during the presentation? Qualify for, to meet the necessary requirements for something. Like, she qualifies for the scholarship due to her excellent grades. Quicken up, to make something happen more quickly or at a faster pace. You might say, we need to quicken up our project timeline. Quench your thirst, to satisfy your thirst by drinking something. For instance, after the hike, we quenched our thirst with cold water. Quest for, to search or pursue something, often a goal or knowledge. Like, his quest for knowledge led him to become a scientist. Quarantine off, to isolate or separate a person or thing to prevent the spread of disease. You might say, they had to quarantine off the infected area. Quarter up, to divide into 4 equal parts or sections. For example, let's quarter up the pizza so everyone gets a fair share. Quantify as, to express something in terms of quantity or measurement. Like, can you quantify his contributions to the project? Quick fix, a temporary solution to a problem that provides immediate relief. You might say, we applied a quick fix to get the system running again. Rack up, to accumulate or gather, often referring to points, debts, or expenses. For example, he managed to rack up a high score in the game. Read up, to study or research a particular topic or subject. Like, I need to read up on the latest developments in technology. Run out, to deplete or exhaust the supply of something. You might say, we ran out of milk, so I need to buy some more. Ring up, to tally or calculate a total amount, often in retail or business settings. For instance, the cashier will ring up your purchases at the end. Rub off, to transfer or come off from one surface to another through contact. Like, the paint rubbed off onto my clothes. Rip apart, to tear something into pieces or criticize harshly. For example, the movie critics ripped apart the latest blockbuster. Round up, to gather or collect people or things. You might say, let's round up the team for a quick meeting. Run into, to unexpectedly meet or encounter someone or something. Like, I ran into an old friend at the grocery store. Read out, to recite something aloud, often for the benefit of others. For instance, she will read out the instructions to the class. Rub in, to emphasize or make someone feel the full impact of something. You might say, don't rub in your victory, we'll try harder next time. Rise above, to overcome difficulties or act in a morally superior way. Like, she always tries to rise above negativity. Run over, to hit someone or something with a vehicle. For example, the car accidentally ran over a toy left in the driveway. Root for. To support or cheer for someone or something. You might say, we'll all be rooting for you during the competition. Ride along. To go with someone, often in a vehicle, for company or to observe. Like, can I ride along with you to the store? Reflect on. To think deeply or ponder about something. For instance, I need some time to reflect on what I've learned today. Set up. To establish or create something, often a system, organization, or equipment. For example, they plan to set up a new business. Show off. To display or flaunt one's abilities, possessions, or achievements. Like, he loves to show off his new car. Speak up. To express your opinion or thoughts assertively. You might say, don't be afraid to speak up in the meeting. Stand out. To be noticeably different or exceptional. For instance, her talent really makes her stand out. Switch on. To turn on a device or light. For example, can you switch on the lights, please? Sort out. To resolve or organize a problem or situation. Like, we need to sort out this issue before it gets worse. Settle down. To establish a stable life, often involving marriage and a family. You might say, they plan to settle down in the countryside. Shake off. To get rid of or escape from something or someone pursuing you. For instance, he managed to shake off the paparazzi. Sleep in. To stay in bed longer than usual in the morning. Like, I love to sleep in on weekends. Show up. To arrive or appear at a place, often unexpectedly. For example, he didn't expect her to show up at the party. Stand up. To rise from a sitting or lying position. You might say, please stand up for the national anthem. Set off. To begin a journey or trip. Like, they will set off on their adventure tomorrow. Speak out. To express your opinion or beliefs publicly, often in support of a cause. For instance, she always speaks out against injustice. Step on. To accidentally apply pressure to something with your foot. For example, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on your toes. Speed up. To increase the pace or rate of something. You might say, we need to speed up the project to meet the deadline. Take off. To remove something, such as clothing. For example, it's getting warm. I need to take off my jacket. Turn up. To arrive, appear, or be found unexpectedly. Like, she didn't expect him to turn up at the party. Try on. To test or wear something to see if it fits or suits. You might say, I need to try on these shoes before buying them. Take on. To accept a responsibility or challenge. For instance, she decided to take on the role of team leader. Talk over. To discuss something thoroughly. For example, let's talk over the details of the project. Tear up. To shred or destroy something, often paper. Like, I had to tear up the old documents. Think over. To consider or reflect on something carefully. You might say, I'll need some time to think over your proposal. Tune in. To watch or listen to a particular television or radio program. For instance, don't forget to tune in to the news tonight. Take up. To begin or start a new activity or hobby. For example, she decided to take up painting. Track down. To locate or find someone or something after searching. Like, they managed to track down the missing cat. Tell off. To reprimand or scold someone angrily. You might say, the teacher had to tell off the misbehaving student. Throw away. To discard or dispose of something. For instance, you should throw away those old magazines. Team up. To collaborate or work together as a team. Like, they decided to team up for the project. Take in. To comprehend or understand something. You might say, it took me a while to take in the complex instructions. Trade off. To exchange one thing for another, often as part of a compromise. For example, they had to trade off some features to meet the budget. Use up. To deplete or exhaust a resource. For example, I've used up all the printer paper. Utterly confused. To be completely puzzled or bewildered. Like, the complex instructions left me utterly confused. Upset about. To be emotionally disturbed or distressed about something. You might say, she's upset about the exam results. Undertake a project. To start or commit to a project or task. For instance, they decided to undertake a major renovation. Urge on. to encourage or push someone to do something. For example, his friends urged him on to take the stage. Undergo surgery, to have a medical operation. Like, she had to undergo surgery to remove her appendix. Use as, to employ something for a particular purpose. You might say, you can use this tool as a wrench. Uncover a secret, to reveal or discover a hidden secret. For instance, the detective worked hard to uncover the secret. Upend the status quo, to change or disrupt the existing situation or system. Like, the new policies aim to upend the status quo. Undo a mistake, to correct or reverse a mistake that has been made. You might say, he had to undo the changes he made to the document. Uphold a decision, to support or maintain a decision or judgment. For example, the court decided to uphold the verdict. Urge for change, to strongly desire or advocate for change. Like, there's an increasing urge for change in environmental policies. Upturn in the economy, to experience a positive change or improvement in the economy. You might say, the country is hoping for an upturn in the economy. Undermine confidence, to weaken or erode someone's confidence or trust. For instance, his constant criticism began to undermine her confidence. Unlock the potential, to discover and make use of one's full abilities or potential. Like, education can help unlock the potential in every student. These together. Venture out, to go outside or explore, especially when it involves some risk. For example, I decided to venture out into the wilderness for a hiking adventure. Vouch for, to express confidence in or support someone's abilities or character. Like, I can vouch for his honesty. He's a trustworthy person. Vary from, to differ or be different from something. For instance, the prices can vary from one store to another. Veer off, to suddenly change direction, often while driving or moving. You might say, the car veered off the road. Vent frustration, to express or release pent-up anger or annoyance. For example, she went for a run to vent her frustration. Value highly, to hold something in high regard or consider it very important. Like, in this culture, family values are highly regarded. Voice concerns, to express worries or objections about something. For instance, employees voiced concerns about the new company policies. Vote against, to cast a vote in opposition to a proposal or candidate. You might say, I'll vote against that bill in the election. Vacate a place, to leave or exit a location, especially a property or building. For example, the tenants will vacate the apartment by the end of the month. Vet candidates, to carefully examine or assess candidates for a job or position. Like, the HR team will vet the candidate's qualifications. Ventilate a room, to allow fresh air to circulate in a room by opening windows or using fans. For instance, it's important to ventilate the kitchen while cooking. Visualize success, to mentally picture or imagine a successful outcome. You might say, athletes often visualize success before competition. Vow to make a solemn promise or commitment to do something. For example, they vowed to support each other through thick and thin. Vie for, to compete or contend for a prize, position, or honor. Like, several talented singers are vying for the title of Best New Artist. Venture into, to start or engage in a new and often risky activity or business. For instance, the company decided to venture into the international market. Wade through, to move with effort through a large amount of something, often something challenging. For example, I had to wade through a pile of paperwork to find the right document. Weigh in, to contribute an opinion or perspective on a topic or issue. Like, she wanted to weigh in on the debate about climate change. Whip up, to quickly prepare or create something, usually food or a meal. For instance, I can whip up a delicious pasta dish in no time. Wear off, to gradually diminish or fade away, usually referring to the effects of something. You might say, the painkiller is starting to wear off. Wipe out, to completely destroy or eliminate something. For example, the tsunami wiped out the entire village. Work out, to exercise or engage in physical activity to stay fit. Like, I work out at the gym 3 times a week. Wrap up, to finish or conclude something, often a task or meeting. For For instance, let's wrap up this meeting and discuss the action points. Warm up. To prepare your body for exercise by doing gentle movements. You might say, I always warm up before I start jogging. Wind down. To relax and become less active, typically in the evening. For example, I like to wind down with a good book before bedtime. Walk out on. To abandon or leave someone, often in a difficult situation. Like, he walked out on his family when times got tough. Watch out. To be cautious or alert, usually to avoid danger or harm. For instance, watch out for that icy patch on the road. Wear out. To make something or someone tired from use or overuse. You might say, playing all day wore out the kids. Whittle down. To gradually reduce the size or number of something. For example, they managed to whittle down the list of applicants. Water down. To dilute or make something less strong or intense. Like, the chef had to water down the spicy sauce for some guests. Wait on. To serve or attend to someone's needs, often in a restaurant or store. For instance, the waiter will wait on our table shortly. 1. Xerox something. To make a copy of a document using a Xerox machine. For example, I need to Xerox these reports for the meeting. 2. X out. To mark or cross something out with an X, to indicate that it's incorrect or no longer relevant. Like, please X out the items you've completed on the checklist. 3. X-ray something. To examine the inside of an object or body using X-rays. For instance, the doctor decided to X-ray my ankle to check for any fractures. 4. X marks the spot. An idiomatic expression meaning to point out the exact location of something. You might say, X marks the spot where the treasure is buried. 5. Xenophobe. Although not a phrasal verb, it's a relevant word starting with X. A xenophobe is someone who has an irrational fear or dislike of people from other countries. These together. Yell out. To shout loudly or enthusiastically is to yell out. For example, the fans yelled out the singer's name during the concert. Yield to. When you give in or surrender to something, you yield to it. Like, she had to yield to the pressure and apologize. Yearn for. To have a strong desire or longing for something is to yearn for it. For instance, he yearned for adventure and decided to travel. Yank off. To forcefully remove something, especially quickly, is to yank off. For example, she yanked off the bandage from her arm. Yoke up. When you attach or link things together, you yoke them up. Like, they yoked up the horses to the plow. Yield up. To surrender, relinquish, or give up something is to yield up. For instance, he had to yield up his position after the scandal. Yell at. To shout or raise your voice in anger or frustration toward someone is to yell at them. For example, he yelled at his colleague for the mistake. Yield in. When you give in or submit to something, you yield in. Like, she refused to yield in the negotiation. Yawn and stretch. This informal phrase means to wake up and stretch your body, often done after a nap. For instance, after a short nap, he yawned and stretched. Yield back. To return or give something back is to yield it back. For example, the company yielded back the unused equipment. Yoke together. To connect or unite different things or ideas is to yoke them together. Like, the speech yoked together various themes. Yield out. To produce or provide something as a result is to yield it out. For instance, the new policy will yield out better results. Yield to temptation. When you can't resist doing something tempting, you yield to temptation. For example, she yielded to temptation and ate the whole cake. Yield profit. To generate a financial gain or profit is to yield profit. Like, the investment eventually yielded a substantial profit. Yield up secrets. To reveal or disclose hidden information or truths is to yield up secrets. For instance, under pressure, he yielded up the secrets of the organization. Together. Zero in on. To focus or direct attention precisely on something is to zero in on it. For example, the detective zeroed in on the key piece of evidence. Zone out. When you stop paying attention and daydream or become lost in thought, you zone out. Like, I tend to zone out during long lectures. Zip up. To fasten a zipper completely is to zip up. For instance, she forgot to zip up her jacket on that chilly day. Zoom in. To magnify or get a closer look at something, often on a computer or camera, is to zoom in. For example, you can zoom in on the map to see details. Zigzag through. To move quickly and unpredictably through an area with sharp turns is to zigzag through it. Like, the motorcycle zigzagged through traffic. Zero out. To eliminate or reduce something to zero is to zero it out. For instance, they managed to zero out the budget deficit. Zonk out. This informal phrase means to fall asleep suddenly or become extremely tired. For example, after the long hike, I zonked out. Zero down on. To narrow down or specify something precisely is to zero down on it. Like, we need to zero down on the exact location. Zip through. To complete something quickly and efficiently is to zip through it. For instance, she can zip through her work assignments. Zone in on. Similar to zero in on, this phrase means to concentrate or focus on something. For example, let's zone in on solving this problem. Zap away. To remove or eliminate something rapidly is to zap it away. Like, the new software can zap away computer viruses. Zoom out. To reduce the magnification and get a broader view, often on a computer or camera, is to zoom out. For instance, zoom out to see the entire picture. Zone off. To separate or mark an area for a specific purpose is to zone it off. For example, they zoned off the construction site. Zip by. When something moves past you very quickly, it zips by. Like, the sports car zipped by in a blur. Zero in. To focus or target something precisely is to zero in. For instance, the company needs to zero in on its core values. That concludes our journey through phrasal verbs from A to Z. Phrasal verbs are a fascinating aspect of the English language that can add depth and nuance to your communication. If you have any more questions or need further assistance, feel free to ask.